26b, we started a new thing of Shmuel, that you have to speak out your oath. The fact that in your heart you decided it should be an oath is not enough. So then we brought this brisa to attack him. What did it say? Meisvei, last for the wide lines for me. Bisvasayim velo believe. If you utter with your lips and not with your heart, Gamar belibo minayin. If you do it with your heart, how do you know it works? So even it sounds like from the brisa you can do both your lips and your heart. So says the Gemara, that's an internal contradiction. Which one is it? Do you need to speak it out, or is in your heart enough? So hagufakasha amris bisvasayim velo believe. You told me first. The first line was that you need your lips and you don't need your heart. And then you asked, how do I know that in my heart's enough? So that's a contradiction. Which one is it? Do you need to speak it out, or you don't, or do you not need to speak it out? Says the Gemara, not a problem. Hello, kasha, hakikama. That's what it means to say. Bisvasayim velo shigamar belibo. With bisvasayim velo shigamar belibo lahotzi bisvasav velo hotzi. So, in the event that you wanted to speak it out, you have to speak it out. But in the event that you didn't want to speak it out, gamar belibo stam minayin. So if you want to speak out your shvuah, your heart's not going to help you. You have to actually speak it out. If you wanted to just not speak it out, just decide in your heart that you want to make an oath, that would also be enough. How do I know? Anybody who makes a swear, even if it's not in your lips, even if it's just in your heart. Says the Gemara, but according to this brisa, it's against Shmuel. And Shmuel kasha, against Shmuel. Shmuel said, if you understood it in your heart, then you have to speak it out. So according to Shmuel, just thinking about it is never going to work. You actually have to speak it out. So according to Shmuel, what's he going to say? How's he going to answer this? It's like this. Bisvasayim with your lips means if you decided that you're going to make an oath prohibiting yourself or maybe eating wheat bread and you said barley bread, and that's not going to go. You have to be consistent. Whatever you decide in your heart has to also be spoken out. However, if you decided if in your heart you decided to prohibit yourself from paschitin, from wheat bread, and then you uttered bread in general, so bread in general includes even wheat bread, obviously. So that is going to be good. How do I know? That anytime a person makes a shvuah, even if it's not exactly what he was thinking, but it's more general, that's still going to be enough. So according to Shmuel, he's in a Mora. He came after the Tanai and the Mishnayos. So he does not argue on this brisa. He agrees. You have to speak it out. Sorry. Okay. So now, Meisvei, another problem. Another brisa contradicting Shmuel. Motze svasecha tishmor ve'asisa. So the verse says you have to, that which you uttered from your lips, you have to safeguard. You have to keep that which you said. That's only if you speak it out, you have to keep it. But gamar belibo minayin, if you just thought about it, who says you have to keep what you thought about? Talmud Lomar. It says by the Mishkan, by the tabernacle, who donated? Kol nediv leiv. Anybody who had a generous heart donated. So, meaning, even someone who wanted to give with his heart to the tabernacle, that already obligated him. So you wanted to give your antique gold spoon you got from your grandmother, you want to donate it to the tabernacle, that mere thought, at least a serious thought, that would be enough to obligate yourself. Says the Gemara, no, you can't bring that as a question on Shmuel. Why not? Shiny Hasam Dechsiv Kol Nediv Leiv. There's a special verse that includes even things involving your heart. Kol Nediv Leiv. Says the Gemara, why don't you learn from there? Why can't that be your source now? That anything regarding your heart, if you say it in your heart, that's going to be enough. Says the Gemara, no, you can't learn from there. Why not? Because this Kol Nediv Leiv is mentioned in two places. One in the Torah by the tabernacle, and one in Divrei Hayamim regarding sacrificial foods. It says V'chol Nediv Leiv in terms of bringing sacrifices. So says the Gemara, what happens when you have two things stated only in two places. Can you learn from there or not? So learn. It says mishum b'havi truma v'kachim. It only says that with your heart. If you just think it in your heart, it'll be a good donation by two places: by donating to the tabernacle and by kachim and by sacrifices. So when you only have something in two places, that's called shnei ksuvim habayim ke'echad. It's two verses teaching you the same thing. The kol shnei ksuvim habayim ke'echad ein malamdim. When you have just two verses teaching you something, then it's two exceptions to the rule, and you can't learn from there. The problem is this way of deriving, or this rule, is a debate between two people. So, if you hold that two verses can never teach you anything, meaning you find something similar in two verses, you can't apply it to a third verse because it's specifically mentioned only two places, because it was local. It's a local novelty, not a global novelty. It's a specific law by those two places. But one opinion holds that rule only holds true in three verses. When you have the same thing taught in three places, then you see it's a specific novelty in those three places. But just two could still teach us to other places. So according to him, why don't you learn from Kol Mediv Lev, anything my heart wants to give, even though it's only mentioned by the tabernacle and by sacrifices, that's only two verses. That could still teach you to other places. Three verses can't. So what are you going to say? It's Havichulin Vekachim, Vechulin Vekachim, Lo Gamrinim. The problem is, though, there's another rule that when it comes to Kachim sacrifices, the world of Kachim, we'll see more on September time, has its own set of rules. Kachim sacrifices its own set of rules. And therefore, you can't learn something which is from non-sacrificial things like our oaths from the area of sacrifices. And here there's two opinions. In halacha, how do you view tzedakah? Is tzedakah like kachim? Is it more similar to sacrifices? If that would be true, then anytime you think, a serious thought that you want to donate something, that would obligate you. Or tzedakah is not like that, and therefore you actually have to speak it out. That's two opinions. It comes from here. That's right. That's right. Careful what you wish for, be careful what you think for. Just be careful in general. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, some people it's easier than others, I guess. So, okay. So it says the Mishnah, a little bit repeating what we had already earlier. Nishba levatles a mitzvah. You made a shavuot to nullify a mitzvah. So a guy makes an oath. I'm not shaking lulav. I'm not eating matzah. I'm not putting on tefillin, etc., etc. V'lo bitel. And he doesn't go nullify. He goes in and eats matzah. He shakes lulav. He puts on tefillin. Did that oath, was that good? Was that not good? Pater, exempt. L'kayim, you make an oath. I will put on tefillin. I will eat matzah. I will shake the lulav. And then you didn't. V'lo kiyim. Pater, you're exempt. Shahaya b'din shechayiv k'div Rabbi Dovid Gleizer. So you would have thought you should be liable, you should be obligated, like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. What did he say? Mitzvah. Rabbi ben Beseira says, if something which I'm not obligated from Har Sinai, I'm allowed to obligate myself in, something which is already obligated from Har Sinai, for sure I should be able to obligate myself. Somehow it's not a problem for him that you're obligated twice. That's not such a problem for him. He says if you can go from nothing to something, so that's a much bigger novelty versus something which you're already obligated in. For sure you can obligate yourself with the shvuah. So the Rabbanan respond, Amru lo, they respond to him, lo. No, why? Im amres b'shvuos harishus. When it comes to something which you're not obligated in, so then shkein also balaf gehet, you can always go. It has to be I can, I can't. I will eat, I won't eat. I will do this, I won't do this. However, Tomar b'shvuos mitzvah shelo asa balaf gehet, shim nishma levatlas mitzvah labitol pater. Just because you could say I will shake lulav, the problem is you can't say it in the negative. I will not shake lulav. That you for sure can't do. So anytime you want to make an oath to fulfill a mitzvah, you're running into a problem that you can never say it in the negative. So the Gemara is going to ask, so that's very good argument. What does Rabbi Dovid ben Beseira, how does he respond to that? But that's the Rabbanon's logic, that since I cannot say it in the negative, so therefore the law will remain that anything which is I'm already obligated in from Har Sinai, I cannot re-obligate myself. Yeah. Okay. Says a brisa which is going to take us for the rest of the Amud. Yeah. Tanu Rabbanan says the brisa, Yachol nishpa levatla, that you would have thought that you can make an oath to nullify a mitzvah. The Torah made a section of oaths. It gave you the power to speak and create a reality that you're obligated in or you nullify yourself in. Maybe you would have thought that would work even to nullify a mitzvah. So what would happen if a guy made a Shavuot to nullify a mitzvah? Below bitel, he didn't do it. I'm not eating matzah this Pesach, and then he goes and he's like, "Ooh, that looks good," and he eats the matzah, right? So you would have thought you would be liable because you didn't fulfill your oath. Talmud Lomar, these are gonna be the key words for I guess I don't know, forever. Yeah. These words of doing something bad to yourself, something good to yourself. That's gonna be the topic. Those two words. What do they mean? What are their parameters? What do they include? It says lahara o lehetiv. You have to make a shvuah that's going to be either detrimental to you or adding to you. Okay, so what does that tell you? Mahatava rishos, just like doing something positive is referring to something voluntary you were never obligated in. Av hara rishos. So too, doing something negative has to be something which is not obligatory. Coming to exclude otzi nishba levatlas a mitzvah, coming to exclude nullifying a mitzvah below bitel, because you're saying I'm not going to do a mitzvah, and since the do not do in the verse has to be non-obligatory. How do I know that? Because the do in the verse, the hatava, the positive, is non-obligatory, and they're juxtaposed together. Therefore, it's coming to exclude somebody who is making a shvuah to not do a mitzvah, that you are going to be exempt. Mitzvah labitel shehu pater. Okay, so you're exempt. Now, the other way. Yachol nishba lekayim es mitzvah. A guy makes an oath to fulfill a mitzvah. I will eat matzah. I will shake lulav. V'lo kiyam, and he does not fulfill it. So he ends up not shaking lulav, not eating matzah. Maybe you'd have thought sheikhayev. You would have thought he should be liable. Why not? Tamav lomar lahara o lehetiv. These words, lahara o lehetiv. Mahara, just like the do not do, the thing that's detrimental to you, it's only going on something which is not obligatory, such as, I will not eat bread, let's say, I will not eat, I will not drive the car today. So, ahatava rishos. So too, in the positive, what you will do has to also be something which is non-obligatory. Otzi, I'm coming to exclude nishba l'kayim es mitzvah v'loikiyim shu pater. Coming to exclude the fact that I'm coming to fulfill a mitzvah that's obligatory, but I need something which is non-obligatory that you're exempt for. Okay. So now, what the brisa didn't explain is how do you know your starting point is true? The Gemara just told us basically that since the starting point is a oath, which is on something which is non-obligatory, the other part of the verse has to be something which is non-obligatory. What it did not explain is how do you know that your starting point is an oath which does not work on something obligatory and only works on something which is voluntary and non-obligatory. How do you know that? That we didn't say. That's going to have to be spoken at the end. But all it's saying is that because you put these two words together, lahara o lehetiv, something positive and something negative, I will do, I won't do, since one of them is referring to a non-obligatory oath, the juxtaposition teaches you that the other one has to follow suit. It's also referring to a non-obligatory oath. And then the other way also. Since the other one's referring to a non-obligatory oath, the first one's also referring to a non-obligatory oath. The problem is we didn't explain that your starting point, that part wasn't explained yet. That's going to be explained soon. Okay. Yachol, you would have thought, nishba lahara o la'atzmo, v'lo heira, a guy makes a shvuah to harm himself. A guy makes an oath, he's going to harm himself, and he does not harm himself. So he said, I will, I don't know, cut my finger off, whatever it is. Yeah. So he makes an oath to harm himself, and he does not harm himself. Yachol yehei pater. You would have thought that maybe he should be exempt. Talmud lomar lahara o lehetiv. The verse teaches you lehara o lehetiv. What does that teach you? Ma hatava rishos, just like I will do in the verse is referring to a voluntary act. It's not obligatory. So too, av hara rishos. So too, the I will not do in the verse is also referring to something which is non-obligatory. So, avi, you can include nishba lahara atzmo v'lohera, somebody who makes an oath to harm themselves, and does not harm himself. So therefore, he will be liable. He will be liable because that's also considered in the Gemara voluntary. Now, it sounds like from our Gemara that you're allowed to harm yourself because the Gemara is calling it a voluntary, not obligatory. So, two explanations. Tosfos points out there's actually two opinions in Bava Kama. One says you can, one says you can't. Our Gemara is only going with the other opinion that says you can, that says that one is not obligated for harming themselves. That's our Gemara is going like. And interesting, the Ran says interesting thing. He says, of course you can't harm yourself, and that's how we go. There's no thought that you can harm yourself. But he says an interesting thing. He says that it's learned out of an exposition. It's not explicit in the Torah, and therefore, since it's not explicit in the Torah, so therefore it's not considered like you're nullifying a mitzvah, or you are fulfilling a mitzvah, right? So let's say if it's usher to harm yourself, so then that's called nullifying a mitzvah. You can't say, I will harm myself. The same way you can't say, I will eat chametz on Pesach. What's the difference? Says the Ran, one's explicit in the Torah, and one is not explicit in the Torah, even though it's biblical. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm thinking it through now, this could have tremendous ramifications. For example, what if you want to nullify a mitzvah d'Rabbanan? Right? You nullify. I will not shake a lulav on the fourth day of Sukkot. Nowadays, that's rabbinical. Mm-hmm. So how does that work? Right? So according to Tosfos, he never had that novelty of explicit in the Torah or not. So according to the Rando, that you're like, you made this new thing from the Gemara, so it could be that's going to have tremendous ramifications for him. Even things that are biblical but are not explicit. So that's anyways. So that's interesting. From our Gemara, the words seem like harming yourself is voluntary, not obligatory. So either it's going like only one opinion, or it's not explicit in the Torah. So that's interesting. Okay, fine. So Yachol, you would have thought nishpa lahara la'achayim lahara sheikhayiv. A guy makes a swear, I want to harm somebody else. So Reuben said, I'm going to go and punch him in the face, and he makes a shvuah in the name of God. Yeah, we've all probably wanted to do this at some point, right? So Chazan's going too slow, he's going too fast, you know. So, you didn't get an aliyah for the second week. What do you say?
He's there at all.
He's there at all, right? Exactly. The chula wasn't so good. Yeah, okay. So you can think of your examples. So you would have thought that a guy, if he makes an oath to harm somebody else and he doesn't harm him, you would have thought that he is liable. He's liable because he's going to go harm somebody else. And why should he be exempt? Talmud lomar lehara o lehetiv. So it says lehara o lehetiv. Ma hatava rishos. Af hara rishos. Just like hatava, that I will do is voluntary, so too this part's voluntary also. Af hara rishos. Otzi nishpa lahara la'acherim below hera. This is coming though to exclude harming somebody else. If you make a swear to harm them and you don't harm them, why? She'ena rishos biyado. You're not able to do that. Meaning, who says that you're going to do it? Maybe he'll run away from you. Maybe he'll dodge it. Maybe he knows, Aikido and he'll do self-defense. Like it could be a lot of things. So since you're not able to, guarantee that you're going to fulfill that, that's why you're going to be exempt. So, yeah. Now here also, Tosfos points out, do not think that harming somebody else is voluntary. That's also obligatory. It says we're just bringing this in really for the next part. But this part, of course, harming somebody else is usher. You're not allowed to harm somebody else. The Gemara calls it voluntary. It's really leading up to the next part. But it doesn't mean that you're allowed to go and harm somebody else. So yeah. Minayin l'rabos, how do I know that minayin l'rabos hatavas acherim? How do I know if I make a shvuah to do good to somebody else? You want to give them a present. How do I know that that's going to work? Talmud lomar o lehetiv. Talmud lomar o lehetiv. That I'm going to, I guess the O includes it. I guess the O includes it. Yeah, O is extra. O teaches me that that I will do that when you want to do good to somebody. Sounds like even though maybe you want to accept a gift or whatever it is, but still that's going to be included. Fine. It's a funny question to me, but the Ezu hi haras acher. What's an example of harming somebody else? I don't know. Exactly. I don't. Right. I'm a little confused about that. Ekes ploni, you hit him, or the eftes mochi, you smash his skull. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly. I know what it means. Maybe it means harming somebody you would have thought is verbal, maybe, or emotional abuse or something like that. The answer is no, it has to be physical. Meaning the oath of harming somebody has to be a physical act. Maybe that's like what the Gemara wants, not a verbal act. Yeah, that's my what it means. Right. No, that's true. Just in this case. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay. Here gets the technical part a little bit. Back to this brisa. Yeah. Okay. So we made this one big fat assumption the whole time that the whole verse is referring to voluntary things, and which are not obligatory, and it's not referring to anything obligatory. Mitzvahs, aveiros, that you can't make a shvuah to do a mitzvah, to not do a mitzvah. Now, how do we know that that's true? Here gets a little nitty gritty. So make sure I don't mess up. Yeah. So umimai dekrai bedavar harishos ksivi. How do I know? From where do I know that the verse says I will do and I won't do something beneficial and something detrimental? So where in those words do you see anything regarding voluntary versus obligatory? Right? Where does it say that? So now, Dilma, maybe, b'dvar mitzvah ksivi. Maybe it's referring to a dvar mitzvah. It's referring to, I will do a mitzvah, I won't do a mitzvah. How do you know not that way? Says, no. Lo sakadaita. Don't think like that. Why? For the following reason. The verse juxtaposes, I will do hatava, to hara, I won't do. And that juxtaposition is going to be the key. So let's see. The be'inan hatava, the hara. I need a lahara ulahativ. Those two things, they have to be similar. They're juxtaposed together. They're teaching you something that's common between the two of them. The hara and the hara that I will not do has to be similar to I will do. Okay. The akish hara lahatava, because the Torah juxtaposes them. The I will not do to the I will do. Ma hatava. Okay, here we go. Ma hatava. Just like I will do, it's something positive. Again, tov, the word tov, you're gaining something. Ma hatava eina bebitul mitzvah. So now, just like tov, right? I'm going to do something tov cannot refer to a nullifying of a mitzvah, because that's not tov. To not do a mitzvah is not good, right? The tov has to be referring to something which is good. So right? So you cannot make an oath, I will eat on Yom Kippur, or I will eat chametz. Why? That's not kal tov. That's bad for your soul. So you heard it here. Not doing mitzvah is bad for your soul. Yeah. So just like hatava cannot be referring to a bittul mitzvah. So you can't say, I will eat chametz on Pesach. That's not, goes into the word good. That's bad. So av hara, when the Torah says bad, eino bebittul mitzvah. That can't be referring to the nullifying of a mitzvah. For example, I will not eat matzah on Pesach, right? That it can't be referring to that, because af hara eina bebittul mitzvah. Hara can't be referring to a bittul mitzvah, because hatava is not referring to a bittul mitzvah. Now, so what does it mean that I right? So now, what would that verse be telling you? I will not do. Maybe it'll say that I won't eat chametz on Pesach. Meaning, if I will do, it can't be referring to something which is negative. The don't do cannot be referring to something which is negative either. So then what's it referring to? Hara'a gufa hatavahi. So at the end of the day, all we have so far is hatava, the positive, cannot be referring to a nullifying of the mitzvah. That's bad for you. So it cannot be, I will eat chametz on Pesach. So too, the I will not do can't be nullifying a mitzvah either. I will not eat matzah on Pesach. So then what's it referring to? That you will do something good? So then hara gupa hatabahi. Then the verse of I will not do is also good for you. So what's the case of I will not do, which is actually not good for you? It sounds like if it's only talking about doing a mitzvah, like you say, I will not eat chametz, that's already included in the first part. Hatava told me I can only do things that are good for my soul. Okay, so from the word hatava, I know already, I can only make sure that are good for my soul. So the akish hatava lehara, and we juxtapose the good to the not good. Mahara, now just like in the negative, eino b'kiyum mitzvah, right? So when the verse says you will not do, so that cannot be referring to the fulfillment of a mitzvah. Why? Because that's not bad for you. That's good for you. So that I will, you can't say, the verse can't be, I will not eat chametz on Pesach. Because the verse says Ra is bad for you. I will not eat chametz on Pesach is good for you. It's good for your soul. So the negative of Ra cannot be referring to fulfilling a mitzvah. So then, Af Hatava, then so too, juxtapose it back to the I will do, also cannot be referring to fulfilling a mitzvah. Because, Af Hatava Eino B'Kiyum Mitzvah. So too the Hatava can't be referring to, so then what's it referring to? It can't be referring to the fulfilling of a mitzvah. So what's it referring to? The non-fulfilling of a mitzvah? Then that's going to be bad. Hatava Gufa Harahi. So then you're stuck. So that's why in this juxtaposition, you're going to get stuck. That they can't be referring to the fulfilling or the nullifying of a mitzvah. So what's the I will do? The I will do can't be I will eat matzah, because that we know already from the end of the verse that you can't do, and it can't be referring to I will eat chametz, because that's not considered good. So what's it referring to? Things that are voluntary. Says the Gemara, if it's referring to voluntary things, ihachi b'dvar harishos nami lo mishkachas lo. Well, think about it. If it's talking about voluntary things, how's it going to work? So Rashi a little bit explains here. Rashi says that if you compare the two, the negative to the positive, so just like the positive has to be eating something which is good for you. So you can't say, I will eat things that are dangerous for you. I will eat, super chemical food or whatever it is, super, I'm not going to eat rocks, right? That won't fall into the word good, because it can only be referring to good, which means you have to only eat things that are good for you. So if that's true, so then juxtapose it to things that you're not going to eat. So what's that referring to? It can't be referring to things that are damaging for you, because you know that already. So it must only be referring to things which are helpful to you. But if it's helpful to you, then you know that already. So once you're going down this road, you're going to get stuck. Once the word tov is referring to things that are beneficial for you, and therefore the word ra has to mean it's beneficial for you, right? So then, and it can't be detrimental for you, then what does the word ra teach you? Nothing. Whatever's going to teach you, you know they're ready from the first part. So, if that's true, you're going to get stuck. There's no reason to teach you both lahara or laheitim, because they're just going to be extra. Ella miditztrich o lerabos hatavas acherim. The word o came to teach us that what's including helping somebody else, even though it's, so to speak, out of your control. Shma mina bedavar harishos ksivi. So interesting thing. Once you have the word o, which is extra, and it's coming to include something of helping others, which is, so helping others is a voluntary thing. That's which is voluntary. So too, the whole verse is referring to something voluntary. Now, how do I know that helping others is referring to a voluntary act and not maybe a mitzvah act? If you'll tell me that it's written about a mitzvah, so now hashta haras acherim is Rabbi If the whole verse is referring to mitzvahs, do mitzvahs and don't do mitzvahs, therefore, if you make a shvuah to harm somebody or to harm somebody, that would work, right? If you're saying it's referring to mitzvahs, that you'd be allowed to nullify them or fulfill them, therefore you'd be allowed to make an oath to harm somebody else, so then I don't need the extra word "oh" to teach me that I can make a shvuah to help somebody else. That's obvious. If I can make a shvuah to harm somebody else, even though it's out of my control, because maybe he'll run away or he'll do self-defense, who knows? So for sure you'll know to help somebody will for sure be included. And I wouldn't need the word "oh." From the fact that I need to the word "oh" to teach me that helping somebody else, that shvuah will work, shows me, it reveals to me that the whole verse is really referring to voluntary acts. And it's referring to voluntary acts, only things that are within my control, that are voluntary. Helping somebody else is out of my control, but there you need a special verse to include it. Yeah. Okay.
Somebody else is out of my control.
Right. Maybe he'll run away. Maybe he'll think that it's just like harming someone else is out of your control. You know, I guess what if you're right next to them? Yeah. I was thinking that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, really, really, the way Rashi says it is a little different than me. He says if harming somebody would be included in this verse, and that's a nullification of a mitzvah. You can't harm somebody. And yet, if that would be included, then for sure helping somebody, which is a fulfillment of a mitzvah, for sure should be included. Yeah, that's what Rashi says. So if harming somebody would be included, for sure helping somebody would be included. From the fact that I need an extra word "oh" to teach me that helping somebody, even though it's a mitzvah, is included, that shows me that the rest of the verse wasn't talking about mitzvahs. Because if it was talking about mitzvahs, I would not need an extra word "oh" to teach me. I can go make a shvuah to do a mitzvah. That's what the verse is talking about. Must be from the fact that I need an extra word "oh" to teach me that I can fulfill a mitzvah. It must be that the rest of the verse was not talking about fulfilling mitzvahs. That's why I need the extra word "oh" to teach me that this mitzvah I can fulfill, and it's not a problem of making a shvuah to fulfill a mitzvah. Fine. So now, on this idea of "oh" is teaching me that I can make an oath to help somebody else. Maybe "oh" is doing something very simple. Maybe you would have thought that the pasuk lahara o lehetiv, such an oath is only going to be good when you make it in the positive and in the negative. If you make a, I don't know. What will be an example if you make both at the same time? Maybe only when you make a shvuah for both of them. I will eat bread and I will not go to the park today. The Torah says make a shvuah on positive and negative. So how do you know it means positive or negative? Maybe it means both. The word "oh" in the middle divides it up. So that the Gemara says, you need "oh" to divide it up, to teach you that it's either or, not both of them. So therefore, "oh" is not extra anymore to teach me that I can make a oath to go help somebody else, which is a mitzvah. Which therefore, if I don't have that, then maybe the verse is referring to fulfilling mitzvahs, which we're trying to prove not that way. It says the Gemara, this idea of "oh" being extra or not is going to be related to the following two opinions. Hanich le Rabbi Yochanan. This is very good, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, because he holds that you don't need "oh" to teach me that. It's already going to be self-understood that it's divided up. You're not going to think that you have to make a shvuah on both of them. Therefore, "oh" for him is extra. According to Rabbi Yoshia, who needs "oh" to divide it up, what's he going to say? How is he going to teach me that this verse is referring to voluntary mitzvahs? What do Rabbi Yonas, and Rabbi Yoshia say? The following: Tanya, Ish asher yikal as abi be'es imo. So a person is prohibited from cursing his father and his mother. So now, does that mean both at the same time? That means both together? That's the violation? Or it means either or? So, ainly ella avi be'imo, maybe you would have thought you're only liable you're only liable when you curse both of them. But aviv velo ima, ima velo aviv minayin. How do I know that my father alone or my mother alone, if I curse them, I'm liable also? Talmud Lomar. The end of the verse says, it repeats itself, aviv ve'imo Kollel, and it's like this. In the first part of the verse, the word yikalo, to curse, is next to the father. Ish asher yikal, that's aviv, next to the father. The end of the verse, it's aviv ve'imo Kollel. The word Kollel is next to the mother. From there, you learn that even if you curse only the mother or only the father, you're going to be liable. Aviv imo Kollel, aviv Kollel imo Kollel. That's all divrei Rabbi Yoshia. Rabbi Yoshia needs the extra verse to teach you this, because if you didn't have the extra verse, you would have read the Torah that when it says you cannot curse your father or your mother, it's referring to you just can't curse both of them. That's why you need the extra verse at the end to teach me that really it's referring to either one of them that you'll be liable for. But that's all Rabbi Yoshia. So according to Rabbi Yoshia, the same thing with O, that you need O to teach me to separate that you're making an oath in the positive and in the negative, because you would have thought it's both. Once you need O to teach me that, it's no longer available to teach me something else. Rabbi Yonasan Omar, mashma shneim ke'echad, u'mash echad b'fnei atzmo. Rabbi Yonasan says, when you have two things, it can be referring to both of them together, or each one individually. It's not referring to one or the. It's not referring to both of them, unless the Torah goes and specifies together. You have to do it together. Then you have to go until you do it together. But if it just says father or mother, then he does not need an extra verse to teach me that it's referring to a father or a mother. It's only if the Torah says the words yachta together. Therefore, it's going to be needed. Therefore, you learn it's only when you do both of them and not either one. So now, Rabbi Yoshia, who we see from here, when he says aviv ve'imo, father and mother, it means both of them, and it's only because he had the extra verse at the end, which taught him to divide up only or father or mother. So to our O. Our O is make an oath in the positive or in the negative or the positive. Maybe it's referring to both and not either one. So we say, no. Afilu tamer Rabbi Yoshia. Even Rabbi Yoshia is going to agree that our verse is referring to voluntary oaths and not mitzvah oaths. He doesn't have the word O. So how does he know? The Sabar Law Rabbi Akiva. He learns like Rabbi Akiva from yesterday. The Darish Ribui Umiyute, that he expounds, according to Rabbi Akiva, he expounds the verse differently. He has a general word, a specific word, and then a general word. And according to Rabbi Akiva, he has another way to learn, and it's referring to mitzvahs. Rabbi Yoshia will jump on that bandwagon, and he'll follow Rabbi Akiva. And therefore, it'll be another way to learn that our verse is referring to voluntary mitzvahs and not obligatory mitzvahs. So now, says expounding on this last thought, so then dvar mitzvah. Once you tell me that the verse is talking about voluntary mitzvahs, so then it's coming to exclude mitzvah-related voluntary oaths. Sorry, voluntary oaths is coming to exclude mitzvah-related oaths. That makes sense. But if the verse is talking about it's referring to mitzvah-related oaths, so then what's it coming to exclude? Nothing. So it's coming to exclude nothing. But according to Rabbi Akiva, we're excluding something. Ribui umil, you have to exclude something. So therefore, according to Rabbi Akiva, who learns it, and we have a specific and a general word, and we're coming to limit it, what are you limiting? So it says, must be we're talking about voluntary things, and we're excluding mitzvah-related oaths. Because if it was talking about mitzvah-related oaths, what are you coming to exclude? Okay, so I think after all the dust settles, this verse is talking about voluntary mitzvahs, hara u'ahetiv, and like the Mishnah said, if you want to make an oath to fulfill a mitzvah or to nullify a mitzvah, it's not going to work. And either it's from one of two places. The word O shows us that we're referring to mitzvahs, but without that, you would never think it is. And therefore, only one case of fulfilling a mitzvah, you are able to make a shua, help somebody else. Or according to Rabbi Akiva, of ribui min and ribui, that's how he knows that it's talking about mitzvahs. Says the Gemara, he said, I don't understand if making an oath for a voluntary act works. For sure, if you're already obligated to which the rabbi said, yeah, but you can't do that in the negative. You can't make an oath to nullify a mitzvah. So says the Gemara, they had a very good response to him. Since you can't make it in the positive and the negative, so therefore it should not work at all, even in the positive. So Shaper Kamri the Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, Amar Lach, he says to them, Atu hatavas hacherim, you just told me, we just learned that helping somebody is included, right? To go help somebody. Lav afal gav beleisei bechal haras hacherim. V'Rabbi Rachmana Hachanami b'kiyum mitzvah afrak leisei b'bittul mitzvah Rabbi Rachmana. So I don't understand. Helping somebody you included. You can make an oath to help somebody, even though you cannot make an oath to harm somebody. So to here you can make an oath to fulfill a mitzvah, even though you cannot make an oath to nullify a mitzvah. That's his response. I v'Rabbanan. Rabbanan hasam isei below eitiv. Hacha mi isei below kayim. There, according to Rabbanan, there is an idea of I will not give, right? I forget harming somebody, but you could say, I will give you a present, or I will not give you a present. So it's still possible to have that I will give you in the negative. Just I won't give you a present. I can't use it in the negative like I will harm you, but I can use a different negative that I will not give you a present. That you could do. So there you have a positive and a negative. But by mitzvahs, you're not able to do that. By mitzvahs, you don't have a I will do a mitzvah and then I won't do a mitzvah. That you can't do. So that's why the Rabbanan said what they said.